All right, so we're now at the point in our practice where we actually begin to practice the demonic practice, demonism. So I will post a script for frame right and for the vow of allegiance, because you must spread your allegiance to search the Satan and his demons before you can communicate with them. All right, so we are going to vow our allegiance to Satan, the powers of hell. I will list the ritual for that. How to call the four crown princes of hell from the four corners of the earth, not the four corners of hell from the Satanic Bible, the four evil kings, the demon kings, and so we're gonna have that. So once you swear your allegiance to Satan and you perform the rite of allegiance, you then will have the ability to communicate. And so now we communicate, right? And so we're going to put a pendulum evocation. I will demonstrate the ritual of pendulum evocation. However, first we'll talk about it for a little bit and the languages that we use, and and you have to have a better understanding of everything. And once you understand, because other teachers, they say do this, do that, do that, do this, but they don't say the whys and the wherefores. We're going to bypass the whys and wherefores. We're going to give the explanation of the whys and wherefores rather, and then you practice, right? So the language we use is Enochian language, as all those who practice should know. But this is for beginners. Is the language communicated John Dee in the 1500s. 1582, I believe, is when they first started actual communications with him and his squire Edward Kelly. John Dee was the court astrologer of Queen Elizabeth I of England. He was actually scrying for some time before this, but he wasn't a very good scryer, so he had limited potential with his the communication by himself. So he recruited Edward Kelly. Edward Kelly was very good at this stuff. And their recordings are available in a number of prints that are available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and other sites if you want to look deeper into Enochian magic. Also, Donald Tyson, I mentioned again, he had a very good book on Enochian magic called Enochian Magic for Beginners. And Donald Tyson, he actually has some good stuff, right? But so Enochian's language we use is language of the fallen angels. Madimi was the primary guide, if you will, for John Dee. And they are in fact not angels. They were fallen angels. Angels at one time, I guess you could say, but after the fall, they're powerful entities, And so when these were the primary sources of the information, it would appear as a small girl in the scrying crystal. And again, images are an expression of their nature. It was an innocent being just trying to communicate truth to mankind. And the purpose of the Enochian language was to open the gates so that mankind can access this stuff for themselves. This is to open the gates in the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is the portal between the fourth dimension and the third dimension. And the Enochian language is the key. When we get there to the demon call, we will use Enochian for our calls. Also for the present, we will use Enochian for our pendulum evocation, because we open the gate within our subconscious minds and therefore receive communication through the pendulum board. That's how we receive the name of the demon to work with, the how it's from, and then we descend and we call it forth, and the door opens, and then we know more than people who read books know. Okay. So there are 19 Enochian keys. The 19th Enochian key it serves. It's actually 30 keys, because I think like in the first sentence, the word in like the Satanic Bible, for instance, the word Lil Lil is name of one of the 30 Enochian ethers. And when you practice, you just change that word right there to access the different ethers. But we don't need to worry about that. I personally have been using the 19th Enochian key. I use only the one necessary. The first Enochian key is what we will use to open the gate to communicate with demons, fallen angels, entities, spirits, angels, even whatever you want to communicate with. The first Enochian key is going to work. The transliteration of the Enochian language as espoused by Anton LaVey, the Satanic Bible, is fairly accurate. These are the transliterations used by Aleister Crowley, because we hear how they're said, how the words are spoken, and it's just Vowels are inserted to pronounce the words correctly, because you have to pronounce the words correctly, right? And it's kind of similar to Hebrew, how Hebrew doesn't have any vowels; it's all just consonants, you know. And so the vowels have to be inserted in order to pronounce the words right. The Hebrew language itself, as a digression, is actually a reconstruction because the original Hebrew has been lost to mankind. And that's why they say the proper pronunciation of the Shem HaMephorash and the proper pronunciation of Hebrew language, or the name of Yahweh rather, have been lost because they do not know the proper pronunciation. The rest of us know, but you know, those who know, you know. But for exoterically, it's been lost, you know. And so Ben Yehuda was the one who translated the Hebrew language. He was a Zionist. He wanted to reconstruct the Hebrew language because he had the hope of reconstituting the state of Israel. And part of their plan was to reconstruct the Hebrew language, to give their people a language, establish a state, and all that good stuff. After World War II, then World War II, they finally reestablished the state of Israel in 1948. You know, so these were all parts of their plan to bring their language and the peoples back into, you know, mainstream, and try to gain control, right? So, you know, there's a lot to it. You know, it has nothing to do with that course we're doing right now. Anyways, so Enochian language, that's why you see different spans of the words, because a different priest, they insert vowels, punctuation marks to give you the proper pronunciation to open these gates. All right. So I will include a list of a pronunciation guide to how to pronounce the vowels, and we will use the first Enochian key. We first start with there'll be a number of steps in impediment invocation. If you follow the steps, you will establish communication. We'll first start with the prayer of Satan. The prayer of Satan will give you the power to communicate. The first Enochian key will open the gates for you to communicate. We then progress to step 3, which would be the call to Samael. Samael is a demonic prince. He's from the second palace of Sheol. By calling upon the name of Samael, the venom of his name is the venom of God, but you know, we know what God we're talking about. And he will constrain the demon to communicate with you. Next to be a conjuration. With the conjuration, you will personally, after you acquire the power to communicate from Satan, you've opened the gates with the Enochian keys. After the demon has been sent from hell with Samael, you now constrain it with your conjuration. And you then welcome it, you communicate with it, and you ask your questions. There'll be a list of questions to ask in order to be a priest or priestess of Satan. And you know, and then from there we go on to demon call. Once you're on this, once you establish communication, we then use a demon call to go down there and then acquire our grades of initiation, right? And then you are self-initiated. Again, you would never have to meet any of us until a certain point. At some point you will, if you make it. But if you do not, you're still going to be 7th degree regardless. You still see stuff that no one else in the general population ever has, you know? So, yeah, so those are the steps. That's the language we're using. I will give an example of using the pendulum board in actual practice and show you how it works. And you would never again need another master, and you're going to do some good stuff, I promise you. Hail Satan.